Um, okay. I I'm Blake Carter, for those who don't know me, and I am a short-term rental specialist here in Texas and big fan of the STR loophole. I met my friend Jeff here through a real estate group that we're in together, and he is the cost segregation wizard, otherwise known as the depreciation doctor. And we were chatting about my own personal cost segregation study that I did, and Jeff had the great idea to be able to share it with my community. So, like I said, even for people that aren't here, we're going to send this out to everybody so that people can actually see what a cost segregation study looks like. Because I think everybody hears about the STR loophole and all the tax savings you can have, but this will give us a chance to actually look at what that looks like in practice. So, with that said, I'll let Jeff get going.
All right. Well, Blake, thank you very much. I thought, hey, you've got a community out there that could maybe pick up a few tricks of the trade, if you will, by a conversation. So I thought, let's give this a go and see. So, because we're talking about like real-time results for you. But let me just, if I can, set the stage a little bit about
Yep.
us, just so people know that we're not newbies in this space. There are a lot of newbies out there all over social media talking about all kinds of stuff that the IRS either disallows or really, really frowns on. So we don't do that. We've been doing this work since 1996. We've done about 28,000 studies nationally. So we've done everything from little Airbnbs to skyscraper buildings in most every city in the country. We've got
Nice.
38 employees that do the work. So we've got this background that we can help people understand going in roughly, conservatively, what the savings, the tax benefit is going to be, and then also what the fee is going to be. So we work on a fixed fee basis. So what else, and what a cost seg is, or like you called it, as a lot of people on social media do, they call it the short-term rental loophole. The only caveat or the reason that I don't care for that phrase, calling it a loophole, is because anybody that's a tax advisor or anybody that is even a little bit conservative with the positions they take for tax, a loophole indicates maybe it's legit, maybe it's not, is
Right.
the way it sounds. Now, I
Right.
know when people say that, it draws, you know,
Attention.
attention because it sounds cool, but it's not a loophole. It's just an advantage. So I call it a short-term rental advantage. The reason for that is it's part of the tax code. It's not a loophole. It's not like they forgot, oh, well, we use the word and instead of or, and it's a loophole. It's not a loophole. It's part of the tax code. So my point is, this is not a fringy thing. This is a legit scenario. And the way that the scenario works is you're allowed to take accelerated depreciation on pieces of your building that you've bought, built, or improved in the last 10 or 15 years. So you can step back retroactively if you want to or need to, and get to take that depreciation in the current year without amending your tax return. Now, you don't need that part of the conversation because you were doing it as part of a new acquisition. So you didn't need to step back at all. But what this is going to do is show you what items in your space are eligible for a faster write-off because it's not the entire purchase price. Again, that's a nuance that on social media posts often is neglected to point out that it's not the whole purchase price. It's the purchase price less land, and then we can work with the remainder number because
Yep.
land is non-depreciable. So I don't want to get into the whole thing, but it's the 5 and the 15-year stuff that gets the bonus eligibility. Are you good with me going ahead from here?
Absolutely. Please.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share the screen then, I think. Let's see here. And then I'm going to pull up this guy. So here we go. I'll make this a little bigger for everybody. So hopefully, This property looks familiar to you.
Yep.
That's always a good start. So here's the property we're talking about, short-term rental. Um, is this big enough, you think, or do you want me to
Yeah,
go
I
on?
can see it well.
You can, okay. So here's the way it would have gone down. It would have gone down that Blake had 323,000 in 27 and a half year life. That's where it would have been. What we were able to do is move, instead of having that all depreciated over a long time, we would have it over, we were able to get it down to a quarter of 225,000. So we got 98 grand into 5 year life and 331 into 5 year life as well. So call it 99K into a faster life. Okay. So what that means is that unit number 14 has 323K in 27 and a half year life, and that would give you $492 of deduction first year if you don't do anything, and then 11,000 a year thereafter. So this is where you started out. What we were able to do is move 98,000 into that 5 year life. So
And this
that's
is
about
because of the cost seg study, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Correct. We identified the 5 year property on this for you. So we were able to say, okay, instead of $492 of deduction because you had bought it late in the year, now you're getting to claim 98,000, meaning you've picked up pretty much 98,452 of deduction. And that's about a $39,000 first year tax impact. Does that make sense up to there?
Yes.
Okay. So what I've said up to here to get that, call it 40 grand tax benefit, that's generic cost segregation. That's what everybody does. What we're also bringing to the table is not just the 5 year property like everybody else does as well, but we're going to give you, in this case, 69% more information. So we're going to break out this 225 that remained in the longer life. Because what you don't want, if you can avoid it, is a single use report. We don't give a single use report. Some folks out there do. We give multiple use report. And what I mean by that is shown here farther back in our creatively labeled Section 8 or Chapter 8,
Hmm.
um, is that everybody would give you the 5 year property, as you see here. Everybody would give that. That's basic, generic. But we're saying to you, hey, Blake, did you know that your windows in that property, which are 27 and a half year life, are $21,000 of value there? So if down the road you decide you've got to replace those windows, you can take another write-off. When the original windows go in the dumpster, you get to take a write-off. Or when the HVAC fails. So the HVAC fails, you've got two parts to it there. You've got 39 grand of deduction. So if that HVAC fails in the next 5 years at, call it 39 grand, you're probably going to have a $33,000 deduction available to you when that first HVAC goes in the dumpster.
Sure.
So we call them bathrooms, us normal people, but in the tax code, they're called plumbing fixtures. So that's 28 grand of bathrooms. So when you,
So to understand,
yes,
you guys, as the cost segregation company, you go in and you analyze all the components of the home and tell me what they're effectively worth. And so, in addition to that $98,000 tax benefit or write-off, I should say,
right off,
um,
thank you.
yeah, that $98,000 write-off that I got, I also have future tax write-offs that I can utilize if and when I go to replace the doors or the windows, the HVAC, all that. Is that correct?
That's correct. You get a second bite, third bite, fourth bite at the tax apple.
Okay.
Now, what we also give is even a little more detail. So here is everything in your property broken down. So interior wall finishes, ceramic tile walls, every single thing in your space, in your property is broken out here with
Got
square
it.
footage or count. That just helps it be more bulletproof if there's ever a question.
Hmm.
Any questions up to here?
So, um, stepping back a little bit, help me understand um, what exactly the process is for you guys whenever you go in to perform the cost segregation study. So you go to the property and what else happens? How do we get to this?
So we start out with, Blake, you sent over some basic information about the property, some basic details. And so we give you an estimate, and then you said, okay, that sounds good, let's go. And so we did this, eventually did the site visit. That's an important piece because you want to have a real site visit. Um, the IRS does not allow virtual site visits, regardless what the social media people tell you.
Sure.
Remote or virtual are not going to be sustained upon an audit. So we always do real site visits. That said, the first thing we do when we come in is number one, identify everything in the building. So we identify, then we quantify, so we count everything. Then we put back at the office, we have our team member put everything in the right buckets as far as lives go, and then they value it. And so with that kind of process, that four-phase process, identification, quantity, then right tax allocation, and then valuation, that's what's going to put everything in the right buckets, not just the 5 year and or the 15 year, but it's going to put everything where it should be. And with the beauty there is that you end up getting to maximize your deductions now and in the future.
Got it.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Cool. Um, so what ends up happening is right here, basically we had come to you initially and said, hey, Blake, it looks like we're going to end up, um, on a projected basis, helping you accelerate about 50 grand of deduction. But I told you then, hey, Blake, we always estimate conservatively because we don't want to overblow the number because we know right after my conversation with you at that time, when we
Yep.
were just projecting it, you more than likely called your accountant and said, hey, we're going to have a big deduction here, reduce my estimated payments. And if
Yep.
we didn't hit our number, then your accountant would be ticked, you would be ticked. So we'd
Right.
rather give you a number we know we can hit, which was this. We knew we could hit 50 grand of accelerated depreciation, reduce your income tax in the neighborhood of about 20 grand. That's what we projected. And we said, hey, Blake, for every dollar you spend, you're going to save probably $4 or $5. And you said, okay, let's give it a go. Well, we actually delivered, though, upon completion, 98 grand of increased deduction.
Yep.
And the beauty of that is that's almost a $40,000 first year tax benefit. So you didn't get 4 to 1, you got about 8 to 1. Most people say, hey, that's even better than 4 to 1. So,
Right.
hey, let's go.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so it works out really well. We've done so many of these that we just always try to under promise and over deliver. And the
Yep.
beauty of that is then it makes you happy and hopefully, um, you'll know other folks or future properties that you'll have us come in because keep in mind, this does not include when you do those renovations down the road.
Right. So this is great, and very exciting and all the things. I think one thing I'd love to be able to give to people that are going to watch this also is how can people estimate what their tax benefit is going to be, right? So like, is there a way, is there a rule of thumb? Is there anything that they can do whenever they're looking at properties to help understand, hey, what is my rough tax benefit on this property? I know it's very variable, but I'm curious if you have any tools or any insight on that.
Well, I would say conservatively, like we did on that projection for you, you would be safe in saying, hey, probably 15 to 22% is a safe assumption going in. Okay. And I say that because typically that's where it's going to fall. Now, if you have a particularly nice place or there are some other, amenities to it, then the
Right.
number could be even better.
Yep.
But a safe, quick guesstimate is, 15 to 22%.
Yep.
And then what you want to remember is don't do that on the $500,000 purchase price. You've got to subtract out land. So
Right.
remember that is part of it too. Or the really easiest thing to do is simply to ping me an email with the listing sheet
Sure.
or the summary of the property, the Zillow listing or whatever it is, and we'll go ahead and work up an estimate and then walk anybody that wants to walk through the conversation and they can make a decision if they think it's worthwhile or not.
And so, um, on like for short-term rentals specifically, because that's what, the folks in my community are doing. For short-term rentals, a lot of people are going in and they're furnishing the heck out of it and they're adding, all kinds of amenities. There's pools and there's hot tubs and there's people doing sports courts and all kinds of stuff, right? Are all those improvements depreciable as well?
Well, I'm going to stop the share now just
Yeah,
because we've covered that part of it. So when you're talking about buying stuff to go into a short-term rental, um, the stuff that goes in, and actually this would apply to an office building or almost any other asset class out there, hotel, whatever.
sure.
Um, for the most part, I think your community of viewers is probably going to be most interested in and eligible for what they call de minimis. And de minimis is something that came out of the tax code probably about 10 years ago. And what it says is that anytime you spend $2,500 or less, 2,500 or less on a given item, it's immediately eligible to be written off.
Okay.
So let's look at the headboards on your bed frames you're buying for everybody. That's going to be probably less than 2,500.
Yep.
Mattresses, monitors for like TV viewing or
Yeah.
computer viewing or whatever it is. Um, you're going to have bought blenders and whatever you're fitting out the place, couches, chairs, oftentimes appliances. Anything with 2,500 bucks or less is eligible under de minimis. Okay. Um, so most of the items that people are spending, so on a typical higher end or at least nicely appointed short-term rental, we'll see sometimes 50 to 75 grand being
Hmm.
spent on the FF&E. Most, if not all of that spend is going to fall into de minimis and it becomes immediately expensible. The beauty
Nice.
of that is twofold. One, you get to write it off immediately. Okay. If the client has a question on this or their accountant is pushing back, have them call me.
Right.
Um, but so they get to take the write-off immediately. That's a great thing. Number one. Number two, because it's never on the depreciation schedule, the client then gets to never have to worry about it with recapture at time of sale. Now, if they're selling and they're doing a 1031, it's somewhat of a non-issue anyway. But if they're selling and they're not doing a 1031, they're going to have to deal with a little bit of recapture. And the
Right.
beauty of having done de minimis is since it never shows up on the depreciation schedule, it's not subject to
You
recap.
don't have to recapture that.
Right.
Oh,
So
very
that's kind of
interesting.
a nice little nuance to
Yeah,
using de minimis.
got it. Good to know. Um, what was the other question I had? Oh, so what a lot of people are doing is they're buying properties that are already furnished, right? So we're seeing a lot of that happening. So for properties that are already furnished, are you guys able to go in there and help them estimate, the cost of those furnishings, and they can use those towards their write-off as well.
That that is one of the services that we do offer, especially in that type of scenario where everything is already kind of in place. They're buying that stuff,
Right.
and maybe they got a list from the seller that has values on it. Maybe they didn't, so we could potentially help there with the FF&E conversation there too.
Got it. Got it.
So that can just add. That's like if we call it the cake is the cost seg, and the icing on the cake is the de minimis. And then there's that other layer of icing, because there's two layers of icing here. There's the chocolate layer and the vanilla layer. So the extra layer would be to take off write-offs in the future when you're doing a more major renovation.
Got it. And so for people that are buying short-term rentals, you already mentioned that they can email you to help estimate their cost segregation benefit and all the things. Um, how how can they how does someone work with you, like in general?
So somehow, some way, typically we get referred in, whether that's by
Hmm.
their the client's accountant or their client's real estate person, or they see
Hmm.
I'm on a lot of podcasts.
Hmm.
So somehow, some way, they get in touch with us. They give us that basic information, which is
Okay.
maybe the listing sheet or the whatever it is. We get the information we needed. We've got a little questionnaire that is pretty simple, basically like 8, 10 questions. Um, Mostly like square footage, acreage, what's the property used for, um, all of which the person will know off the top of their head typically. So they get me that info, we run an estimate, we jump on a quick Zoom call, and I say, hey, this is roughly what you're going to save in taxes. Again, conservative estimate. And then this is what it's going to cost you to have. Would you like to do it? Yes or no? And then if we get the yes, we go out, do the site visit, and then deliver the report after that.
Got it. Got it. And they essentially would just handle or hand this report to their CPA or their accountant or whoever, and their CPA will know how to work this into their taxes, basically.
Typically, yes. Most accountants will understand it.
Yeah.
But if they don't, part of our heritage from having done this since 96 is that we teach this as a continuing ed class for CPAs.
Oh,
So we've been
cool.
doing that since '03. So for 23 years now, we've been teaching CPAs about this. So we can go really, really in depth and painfully boring for most people, but we can do that and we do that, um, and help the client's accountant get everything in the right buckets on the return if the accountant isn't familiar. But we also do continuing ed for other folks too. So we teach this all over the place.
Got it. I love it. Well, this is amazing. Any last important notes that we should mention?
No, if people still are on extension, many of them might be, because everybody that's a real estate person typically is focused on the next deal, not focused on, oh my gosh, I got to deal with those taxes now from 25. So they may be on extension right now. They could
Yep.
still do a cost seg now,
Oh, good to know.
grab the deduction, use it for tax year 25, or if they've already filed 25, they could use the property they bought years ago for tax year 25 or 26.
Oh,
So
that's great to know. That's good to
it,
know. Actually, just people ask me for advice on that all the time. That's awesome.
it works
Well,
out well, yes.
that's awesome, man. Well, this is great. This will be recorded, so it's going to go out to our whole community. So Sandra was our last person that stayed through the whole thing, but I will get you the recording, and I appreciate your time, brother. This is awesome.
Hey, thank you very much. Look forward to
Yeah,
seeing you in Dallas in a few weeks.
likewise, man. We'll
Talk
talk
to you
soon.
later. See you. Thanks. Bye.